as promised, we have our first interview of the day. They are here with Mr. Ricky Santos, the president of GNFC. And Ricky was part of pulling off a successful player identification combine just the last week or the week before, sponsored by Mr. Calvin Ear. So, Ricky, can you just tell us, your summary and, how was the combine and how did it pull off?
Okay, well, first of all, I would just like to say that it would not have happened without the assistance of the Calvin Ear Foundation, because it was sponsored by them, and we have to also recognize it was done in collaboration with the Prime Minister's Scholarship Fund, along with the Antigua and Barbuda Football Association. So with those three partnering together, GNFC was able to fuel it to make sure that it came off. And we'd also like to recognize the professionalism that was shown by our coaches, namely headed by Desmond Zico Blur, Cheyenne Jeffers, Ken Pennyfeather, and George Sauer Dublin. They really did a fantastic job in getting all the youngsters organized into teams and numbered with the bibs, so that all the coaches that had to do would just watch the games and then decide who they liked and selected. Now, the combine was the most successful that we had since. This is our third annual event. Of course, last year we weren't able to do it due to COVID restrictions. So, but this year we had a total between high schools, universities, and professional. We had a total of 187 youngsters participated in the various categories. So it was from all reports that coming back from the coaches, it was very professionally done, very well received. And they also like the talent pool, which I'll come to in a short while. I'd just like to recognize the coaches that were here and the organizations that they represented. We had from the USA, we had Jamie Highcock. He was representing Fairleigh Dickinson University. We had Omar Gallo. He was represented Holy Cross University. And also the USL team, Des Moines Metis. We had Johnny Clifford from St. Mary's University, and he was also representing the USL team, Sockers FC. We had Kevin Brennan from Drake University, and he was also representing Midwest Muskrats Football Club, which is in the USL. And then we had Mark Sweeney, and he was represented Cedar Stars FC, which is in New York. From the UK, we had Mark Richards and Chris Knowles from Hartbury College and University. We had Chris Woodburn from UK Football Schools. He was also scouting for Fleetwood FC in the United Kingdom. I think they're in a lower division, what they call the non-leagues, and Sheffield United Academy. We had Laurie Dudfield, who was a former Leicester City player, and he was representing Brookhouse College, Kettering FC, South Bend Lions, and Pickering FC. Pickering is in Canada. And then we had Sam White, who was representing Dubai City. Now, as I said, so far, I've been copied on all the correspondence because they have been in direct contact with the parents and players.
So a total of how many scholarships?
We have none of them are going to be full scholarships. We have partial scholarships between the US and the UK, close to 50 offers that have been made. Of course, as I just said, none of them are getting full scholarships. The Prime Minister's Scholarship Fund is going to assist with the educational part of it, the tertiary level, that is. So that will be a great assistance, of course. But still, there's still going to be a balance that some of the families will have to find to get these players out. So we don't know how many will end up actually going as yet. But hopefully within the next month or two, we'll have a clearer indication as to the exact numbers. But I know we have, I think it was 47 offers that have already been made. And that goes across high school, the 47 are high school, universities, colleges, and professional.
Okay, in terms of the coaches, you talk about the setup and their feedback. But what was their feedback in terms of the play and the action, getting to see the guys out there?
Well, they wanted the format to change slightly, because what we did is we opened to all, and they wanted to see like the best of the best, which I had some arguments with that, because I'm not going to prevent any youngster from showcasing their talent. And as scouts or coaches is a very selective and personalized event, because you may like a particular player that I may not like. You may be looking for a forward, I may be looking for a defensive player. So all of that personalization. So what we will do next year, because the talent pool was there, be it so that a lot of them were rusty, because we haven't played competitively for close to 2 years. So I asked them to bear that in mind. You can see the talent, but some of them would not be up to their full potential simply because they have not played competitively. So they took that into consideration. So next year, what we're going to do next year, because we have tweaked it every year since we've started it, and the talent pool that they saw there, they really liked. They said that a lot of them have the potential, and obviously because of not playing competitively for this length of time, they were not, as I said, they were not at their full potential. But the following year, we're going to bring them down for a slightly longer period of time, and they will make the cuts rather than our coaches make the cuts. Because you know how it works here. Yeah. If our coaches makes the cuts, then they may be accused of bias. And to be honest, they do have a point, because if I was scouting, I would be somewhat partial to my club than to another club.
But then I think with the previous combine, that's what they had them do, an elimination process whereby the coaches select who would move on to. In that way, you take your hands out of of it. So if any query, you can say, well, the coaches chose who they would want to get a keener eye on.
The overseas coaches.
Yeah, the overseas coaches. Right. So I think that's a good way to keep it fair and to...
Exactly. And not only that, but everybody will get a chance to showcase their talents.
Exactly. And then when you don't make it, you can't blame anyone, because the coaches would have been known what they're looking for.
Exactly.
And who would have, met that standard or criteria to move on to the next selection process.
And like what I really would like to stress to those who may not have been offered any stuff yet: do not give up on yourselves. Keep training hard. And I have to stress this part also too, the academic part. Mm-hmm. You have to keep up with your academics, because you may be offered a scholarship by the sports part with the coaches, but then you still have to have the academic qualifications and requirements to get into the university or the high school. So you still have to have the balance of both.
And I tell the kids all the time, it matters, because when you get there now, you have to do the work to stay on the field, because you can be the most talented player, but if you can't meet that GPA requirement, then you can't get to play, and so you can't get to showcase your talent.
And not only that, but the scholarship offers, because this year I negotiated with them to increase the scholarship offer by adding the academic scholarship component to it. So the coaches are now combining both. So then the scholarship offers maybe 60%. It will go up to 75% if your academics are up there. So I'm stressing on them keenly. And if I may, I would just like to point out 3 things that I tell all the youngsters that come in to register for these things. I said, do not give up. First of all, do not give up on your dreams of becoming a professional player. Continue down that path with your dreams. But also, I stress it very strongly, get your education. And 3 scenarios I give them. If you were to make it professionally and you get injured, the professional sports, as you know, so it's very cruel, and they would cut and release you as fast as they sign you.
And what are you going to do when there's no more sports?
Combined with the fact that if you do make it professionally, you'll have friends and family that you never knew you had. And if you don't have a sound education, they will take you to the cleaners. And I use Mike Tyson as a typical example. If Mike Tyson was a well-educated person, he would not be in the position financially he is in today. But people took advantage of him because he could not manage his finances, simply because he didn't have a proper education.
Exactly. Guys, and this is why it's called being a student athlete. So you have to be able to balance both, off the field and in the classroom, and then as well as performing and producing
and the
on
third,
the field.
And the third scenario I'd like to state, when you're age 30 to 35, very few professionals go past 35. If you make it professionally, by the time you're 35, your career is basically over.
Only the elite of the elite.
Yes, very few are going to make it past 35. So once you hit 35 and you have to retire, what are you going to do between 35 and let's hope you live to 85 for the next 50 years, for easy calculations? And don't forget, if you did make it to the top, you will have a different lifestyle that you'll try to upkeep. Now, if you don't have a sound education to know how to invest your money, or what you should do after the sport, then all what you've earned and gained will go very rapidly. Because the higher the lifestyle, the higher the maintenance to keep up that lifestyle. Your big houses, your big fancy cars. So all of these things will come into play. So I really want to stress that they take the education very seriously. Some of them say, well, they'll do it online. Well, I use myself as an example. If I was to make it professionally at 17, 18 years old, you really think I'm going to go back online and do schooling?
It's not very likely.
You have to be a really dedicated person
to get
do
up
that.
every day and no classroom, no anything, and just get up and say, I'm going to sign on.
Exactly. And you're making a lot of money.
Exactly.
So the odds are you're not going to do it.
Okay, final two things before we wrap up. Firstly, just how do you think the guys will fare, the ones that you would have known was chosen, watching them play and seeing them? What do you think, how do you think the translation will be with them going into their different high school setups and their college, university, and, you know, overseas and abroad?
I think they would excel, to be honest. We've had a few that have gone on to university, and every single one that have gone on to university have excelled both academically and on the field. So I have every confidence that those who are selected will go over there, be great ambassadors, and open the doors for the others to come up. And I think they will excel. I have all the confidence. I've always said this. I think the Caribbean is a highly overlooked area. They seem to be going to South America, Africa, Central America, and just bypassing us, leaving us out in the cold. So I'm hoping that this could be the start of many more things to come.
All right, so that's all the time we have for today.
If I could just
go ahead.
I could just say one thing, we are restarting the Calvinier Foundation Advanced Academy next week, and we'll be having that academy is a free academy because the benefactor is Calvinier, so he pays for the uniforms, the coaching, everything is covered. It's free, but you have to come for trials. We have for the on the 13s, on the 16s, on the 19s, and females and goalkeepers. So we'll have each one of those divisions. On Tuesday, we'll be doing for the on the 16s, on the 19s, and the keepers. And on Thursday, we'll be doing the trials for the on the 13s and the females. Once again, I want to stress, it doesn't cost any money. You come in, if the coaches that are there like you, then you get to get in the setup. We also do for the older ages, once again, at no cost to you, we do SAT classes, which will be starting up shortly after the selection process is made.
Okay, so this is that, guy, that's very important, especially you athletes out there, to get those SATs and ACTs done. Don't wait until you would have gotten chosen for a school or university to be rushing to do it, because
Right.
you get it done right away. So a school likes you right away. Here, these are my scores, and you can know where to go forward from there. So take the opportunity. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be speaking to professional boxer, Antiguan over there in the UK, Mr. Lawrence James. So stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.